Mabuhay! I am Kian, Mathew Sarinas, a Bachelor of Science in International Culinary Management student from Lyceum of the Philippines University, Laguna. And for this week, I am going to demonstrate dry heat cooking method focusing on deep frying. Let's start. For our deep-fried breaded seafood, we will be needing fish fillet cut into strips, buttered fly cut shrimps clean and deveined, lemon juice, salt and pepper, liquid seasoning for added umami, parsley, Chinese celery for extra aroma to lessen the fish's smell, and for the breadings, we have flour, beaten eggs, and panko breadcrumbs. First, we need to season our fish and shrimp with our salt and pepper. And for the fish, we'll be adding Chinese celery and our liquid seasoning for extra flavors. Then, gently mix it to incorporate well our seasoning. Then, we'll need to season as well the breadings with our salt and pepper to have a perfect layer of taste. We need to incorporate it well with the use of our whisk. Now, we're going to breading. When we are breading, always use the abbreviation the FEB, which means flour, egg, and the breadcrumbs. And we need to use one hand for wet and one hand for dry ingredients. First, we need to put into the flour, then shake it a little to lessen the excess flour. Then, dip into the eggs and lastly to our breadcrumbs. Just repeat the process. Again, use the one hand for dry and one hand for the wet ingredients to have a one hand clean. And for our fish, just repeat the process. Always remember the FEB, flour, egg, and the breadcrumbs. Then, when we are done for our breadings, let's proceed to our deep frying. Make sure that your oil is hot but not too hot. We need the right temperature in deep frying. Otherwise, if you have a very low heat and your oil is not hot, it will lead to a greasy fried seafoods. That's why we need to have at least a 200 degrees Celsius when we are deep frying. And when we are deep frying, make sure that do not overcrowd the frying pan to even the distribution of heat and to even the cooking. And make sure that your fried is golden brown, and we are starting to fry the shrimp first because shrimp is very fast to cook. Then, after that, we need to drain it to lessen the oil. And when we are cooking shrimp, do not overcook it because it will lead to a rubbery texture. Again, for our second batch of our shrimp, just repeat the process. Do not overcrowd our frying pan. Before we start to deep fry our fish, we need to strain our oil to remove the crumbs from the shrimp. Again, just repeat the process. Do not overcrowd our pan. Cook it until it becomes golden brown. Then, you need to strain it to lessen the oil. Then, after that, let's proceed to our last part, which is the sauce making. Before that, we need to change our gloves because we are handling raw seafoods earlier to lessen the cross-contamination and to lessen the foodborne illnesses. For our aioli sauce, we'll be needing mayonnaise for our base. Then, season it with your salt and pepper. Then, add your minced garlic, depends on your preference. And lastly, add a few drops of lemon juice. Mix it well, then let's proceed for our plating. Put it into a mini container, then garnish it with some chopped parsley. Next, let's proceed for our plating for our deep fried seafoods. It's up to you if you want to separate the shrimp and the fish, but now I will combine it together. And when it's done, just add some parsley on top for extra garnish. And when it's done, let's clean our station. And there you have it, our deep fried seafoods with aioli sauce on the side. Enjoy! Mabuhay! I am Kian Mathew Sarinas, a Bachelor of Science in International Culinary Management student from Lyceum of the Philippines, University, Laguna. And for this week, I am going to demonstrate moist heat and combination cooking methods. Let's start! For our braised brisket, we'll be needing 500 grams of brisket. This beef has been trimmed, the silver screen, as well the elastin. For the side, we have carrots 50 grams, baby corn 50 grams, and French beans 50 grams. Second is the mirepoix made of 100 grams of onions, 50 grams of carrots, 50 grams of celery. Next, we have 4 pieces of potatoes cut into quarters. Next, our 1.5 liters of brown beef stock, our 2 tablespoons of milk, and 2 tablespoons of cream. We have 60 ml of red wine and 15 grams of all-purpose flour. Next, we have 2 teaspoons of our tomato paste, salt and pepper, our dried thyme, and 1 piece of laurel leaves. And lastly, our oil and butter. First, I have Dutch pot, heated about 3 minutes, pour in our oil. Then I will be getting our brisket, then we're going to sear it. This one until the side of the brisket has been run. We need to make all the side becomes brown. Just repeat the process as well on the side, then after that, set it aside. And we have our beef all around the side is brown, then set it aside. Then using the same pot, we're going to render our mirepoix, the onions, celery, and carrots, so that we wanted to have this aromatics brown, and we'll be season it with our pot with your salt and pepper. Then add in our pinch of our dried thyme and 1 piece of laurel leaves. As you can see, our vegetables are dropped. We'll be adding our tomato paste. Then what we wanted to achieve is to develop its color as well its flavor. On this point, we'll be placing back our beef. Then we're going to add our flour as we will be coating everything with the flour. So this will be our thickener for this facelift. Give it a stir that will be called the Singer method, so that using the fat that is available during the searing process as well as the sauteing process. And deglaze it with our red wine, then add our beef brown stock. Remember for braising that your meat be submerged with the liquid. We're going to simmer it about 1.5 hours or until our beef is fork tender. After that, we're going to do the mashed potato. I have 4 pieces of potatoes cut into quarters. And we're going to boil it. It starts with the cold water. Why do we need to start with the cold water? Because we want to immediately go out, because when we start with the hot water, the outer surface of our potatoes will be start to cook so very fast, and also will be allowing the starch of our potatoes look nice. While the potatoes is boiling, let's start to blanch our vegetables. We have some botany cut of carrots, French beans, and our young corn. Put our carrot first, cook it about a minute, then add our young corn, and lastly, we'll be having our French beans. When our vegetables are fork tender already, put it into a bowl. What we're going to do next, we're going to put some butter. Mix it a little, then set it aside. Now, when the potatoes are fork tender already, grab a bowl, put the potatoes, then we'll need to mash it using the potato masher. And if you don't have potato masher, you can use fork as well. You need to mash it until it becomes a smooth texture. And when our potato is smooth already, let's start to double boil it. In our double boiler, we add some salt and pepper to taste. Then add some 2 tablespoons of our cream and also 2 tablespoons of our milk. And we're going to add some butter later. Mix it well until it incorporates well the milk and the cream into our potatoes. Then after that, add our butter. Mix it well until it incorporates. Then after that, let it set it aside for the plating later. Now we'll back into our braised beef after 1.5 hours. Check it if it is fork tender already. If it is not, add some liquid, then let's proceed to our plating. In our plate, first add some mashed potatoes on the side. Then pour in our liquid on the center. Then after that, top it with our beef brisket. Then put in our young corn on the side. Next is our botany cut carrots. Then after that, put again a young corn and our carrots. Then after that, add our French bean on the side. Then after that, clean our plate. And for the finishing touches, add some parsley to make it more colorful. Then there you have it, our plated braised brisket with mashed potatoes and vegetables on the side. Enjoy! Mabuhay! I am Kian, Mathew, attending Sarinas, a Bachelor of Science in International Culinary Management student from Lyceum of the Philippines, University, Laguna. And for this week, I am going to demonstrate dry heat cooking method. Let's start. We'll be needing the following ingredients: 2 cups of long-grained rice, botany cut of carrots and your French beans, butter and your oil, and we have your white onions, salt and pepper to taste, parsley, and your dried thyme. And for the salmon, we have 200 grams filet salmon. Lastly, your chicken stock. For the rice fill up, we're going just simple sauteing process. In our pot, add some butter, allow it to melt. When the butter melted already, add your onions. Saute it for a while and allow our onions to caramelize. Now our onions already caramelized. Now we can add our long grain rice. Allow our rice to be coated with the butter. Mix it well and stir it for 2 to 3 minutes. What we want to achieve is we want our rice to be opaque as possible. When it turns into white before adding our chicken stock. And make sure that you're stirring your rice so it will not get burned or stick into our pot. You can see our rice turns into white. What we'll be doing is we'll be adding our chicken stock. At this point, we'll be adding our seasoning, salt and pepper, and your thyme. Let's simmer it for 10 to 15 minutes or until the rice is cooked. While simmering, let's start sauteing our vegetables. In our pan, add some butter. First, we'll be adding our carrots because our carrots need to be tender and our French beans cook more faster than our carrots. When the carrots is okay already, add now our French beans. Toss it. And you may now season it with your salt and pepper to taste. Next, when your rice turns into this, you may now add your extra butter. So the butter will add some smooth texture. And lastly, you may add some parsley. Now, your rice fill up is done. For the salmon, in the pre-preparation, I already dry it with the use of paper towel, but since it's still wet, I am going to pat it dry again before seasoning. Now what we're going to do is we will be seasoning it with your salt and pepper. We need to preheat our grilling pan first to make sure that the flesh of the fish will not stick into our grilling pan. Now we're putting the salmon skin first in our grilling pan. And you may add some oil again. Now when the skin of the salmon prepared already, you can now turn it on the flesh part. When the top part is okay already, you can now flip it on the side to cook as well. And when the sides are cooked already, you can now remove it from the griller to avoid drying of the fish. For our plating of our salmon, what we're going to do is we're going to place our rice fill up as the bedding of our salmon. Then add your salmon at the top side part. Next is your sauteed vegetables, which is your French beans and your carrots. And of course, your hollandaise sauce. Next, clean our plate before garnishing. And for the garnish, add some parsley for the extra color. Lastly, to become more fancy, you may add some 24-karat gold leaf on the top. And there you have it, our grilled salmon with sauteed vegetable on the side. Ready to serve. Enjoy! Again, I am Kian, Mathew, and Sarinas at your service. Thank you for watching and may God bless us all.